of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audio book on the course Mmpc 011 titled Social Processes and Behavioral Issues for MBA Program. Presenting Block 1 titled Introduction to Organizational Behavior. Unit 3 Evolution of Organizational Behavior Part 2.
Behavioral movement. In this era, the human side was given importance in the organizations. This era has started the human relations movement, and this has become significant influence in the organizational behavior research. Before this era started, two important fields came into force. One is the birth of personnel office, and another is the field of industrial psychology with Hugo Munsterberg in 1913. Personnel office. With the growth of unionism, few firms like H.J. Heinz, Colorado Fuel and Iron, and International Harvester created the position of welfare secretary. These people acted as a liaison between the organization and its employees for suggestions in the improvement of working conditions, housing, medical care, education facilities, and recreation. These are like the people who are recruited in HR departments in the present day of organizations. Goodrich Co. established employment department in 1900, and the responsibility given was only hiring. In 1902, the National Cash Register Company established the first comprehensive labor department, who were given to manage functions like wage administration, grievances, employment and working conditions, health conditions, record keeping, and worker improvement. Industrial psychology. Hugo Munsterberg published his book on psychology and industrial efficiency in 1930. In this, he prescribed for the scientific study on human behavior to identify general patterns and to explain individual differences. He also saw a linkage between scientific management and industrial psychology. Both saw increased efficiency through scientific work analysis and through better alignment of individual skills and abilities with the demands of various jobs. He suggested various psychological tests for selection, how training helps in development, and the importance of studying human behavior for motivating workers. These suggestions are well incorporated in today's organizations. The Magna Carta of Labor. Following the stock market crash in 1929 at United States, which led to the fall in economy, thereby leading to Great Depression. At this time, President Franklin Roosevelt supported the Wagner Act, which was passed in 1935. This act authorized and legitimized the representatives of the unions to bargain collectively with their employees on behalf of their members. This act proved to be the Magna Carta of Labor. With this act, the working conditions in the organization improved, and thereby the relationship between union management improved. Then came the human relations movement, which played a huge role from late 1930s to 1940s. Human relations movement. The basic belief in this movement is that higher the satisfaction of employees, higher will be the productivity. The following people played important role in this movement. They are Dale Carnegie, Abraham Maslow, and Douglas McGregor. The human relation approach. With the advent of the 1920s, the focus of organizational theorists shifted from formal structures to social factors and employee behavior at work. Some of the experiments and studies that encourage the development of the human approach are discussed here. 1. The Hawthorne experiment. This experiment was conducted during 1924 to 1932 at the Hawthorne plant of the Western Electric Company near Chicago, USA. Conducted by Elton Mayo and his colleagues, the experiment consisted of 4 phases. A. The elimination experiments. B. The relay assembly test room. C. The interviewing program. D. The bank wiring observation room. A. The elimination experiments. In this experiment, two groups of workers, control group and test group, were exposed to different intensities of lights, the former with normal illumination and the latter with low to high illumination. The expectation was that higher the illumination, higher the productivity. But no such productivity increase was observed, and it was concluded that there is no relationship between the physical conditions and productivity. B. The relay assembly test room. In the relay assembly test room, the work was boring and repetitive. It involved assembling telephone relays by putting together a number of small parts. 6 women workers were transferred from their normal departments to a separate area. The researchers selected 2 assemblers who were friends with each other. They then chose 3 other assemblers and a layout operator. The experiment was divided into 13 periods during which the workers were subjected to a series of planned and controlled changes to their conditions of work, such as hours of work, rest pauses, and provision of refreshments. The general environmental conditions of the test room were similar to those of the normal assembly line. During the experiment, the observer adopted a friendly manner, consulting the worker, listening to their complaints, and keeping them informed of the experiment. Following all but one of the changes, when operators complained too many breaks made them lose their work rhythm, there was a continuous increase in the level of production. The researchers formed the conclusion that the extra attention given to the workers and the apparent interest in them shown by management were the main reasons for the higher productivity. This has become famous as the Hawthorne effect. C. The interviewing program. The first 2 phases established the importance of supervision as a factor determining level of productivity. To further understand this, researchers conducted a large interviewing program in which 20,000 plus open-ended, non-directive interviews were conducted. The workers were free to express their opinions on supervision, work conditions, and other work-related aspects. Researchers were able to deep dive into workers' feelings, needs, expectations from management, and attitudes, and also relate the importance of listening to workers in an organizational setting. D. The bank wiring observation room. In this experiment, 14 men were made to work in the bank wiring room, and their behavior was observed. It was observed that within this big formal group, few informal were developed, and in each group, a leader emerged naturally, which other members of group looked towards for decision. The group developed its unique set of norms, defining the right behavior for that group. Despite a financial incentive scheme where the individuals were offered more money, for higher output, the group decided an optimum level of output suitable to all the members of the group. Instead of some members performing their best, they decided to stick to the group norms. The peer pressure had a higher impact on the workers than the financial incentives. Evaluation of the human relations approach. 1. No focus on environmental factors. 2. Lack of scientific approach. 3. Sex power differential. The relay assembly room had an all-female group, and the bank wiring room with restricted output had all males. Also, the women were constantly mediated by supervisors, which might have influenced their behavior to work within the supervisor's expectation. These differences in the gender in 2 phases might have impacted the results, but there was no account of that in the results published. Importance of the Hawthorne experiments. 1. Created fresh ideas on the importance of teams and leadership within group communication, job design, motivation, and output constraints. 2. Focus on human relations at work. 3. Seminal insights into human behavior at work and emergence of management thinking. Dale Carnegie book on how to win friends and influence people has a great impact in the years 1930s, 1940s, and 1950s. Carnegie's essential theme was that the way to success was through winning the cooperation of others. He advised 1. To make others feel important through a sincere appreciation of their efforts. 2. Strive to make a good first impression. 3. Win people to their way of thinking by letting others do the talking, being sympathetic, and never telling a man he is wrong. And 4. Change people by praising their good traits and giving the offender the opportunity to save face. Neo-human relations. Post the Hawthorne experiments, there was an increased focus on the social organization and individual motivation theories in the 1950s and 1960s, and organizational theorists focused on human psychological orientation. The next set of management theories emphasized on personal adjustment of the individual at work and the impact of leadership styles and group relationships. This direction of work was categorized as theories of neo-human relations. Maslow in 1943 developed a conceptual framework of individual personality development and motivation based on a hierarchy of human needs. The hierarchy ranges through 5 levels from, at the lowest level, physiological needs, through safety needs, love needs, and esteem needs, to the need for self-actualization at the highest level. Individuals advance up the hierarchy only as each lower level need is satisfied. This theory directly or indirectly impacted the management approaches to motivation and the work design. McGregor related managers' attitudes towards human behavior with the management style adopted by him at work. He defined 2 theories, Theory X and Theory Y, for explaining behavior at work. Theory X managers tend to take a pessimistic view of their people and assume that they are naturally unmotivated and dislike work. As a result, they think that team members need to be prompted, rewarded, or punished constantly to make sure that they complete their tasks. Theory Y managers have an optimistic, positive opinion of their people, and they use a decentralized, participative management style. This encourages a more collaborative, trust-based relationship between managers and their team members. The neo-human relations approach led to continuing attention to organization structuring, group dynamics, job satisfaction, communication and participation, leadership styles and motivation. It has also led to greater attention to the importance of interpersonal interactions, the causes of conflict and recognition of employee relation problems. Behavioral science theorists. These theorists believed in objective research of human behavior in organizations so that science of organizational behavior could be developed. Jacob Moreno constructed sociometric analysis which identified attraction, repulsion, indifference patterns among group members. His analysis is used to create cohesive and high-performing teams in organization. B.F. Skinner came out with operant conditioning and behavior modification, which has a significant effect on the design of organizational training programs and reward systems. He said that behavior is a function of its consequences. People will engage in the desirable behavior if they are rewarded, and if undesirable behavior is not accepted or punished, there is decrease in repeating that behavior. David McClellan, with the help of projective tests, McClellan found that one can distinguish high need to achieve from low need to achieve among the individuals. These tests helped organizations to match individuals with their competencies, to place them at appropriate jobs, and also in enriching the jobs to motivate employees. Fred Fielder, with his research on contingency model on leadership, made an impact in organizational behavior from mid-1960s to late 1970s. Herzberg listed 2 different sets of factors, motivators and hygiene factors. The former influenced motivation and the latter led to satisfaction at work. The hygiene factors, when absent, lead to job dissatisfaction, as they are the basic expectations when a person works. But the presence of these factors did not motivate an individual to perform his or her best. To motivate workers, organizations must provide growth or motivating factors. These are concerned with job content. Hackman and Oldham's research identified 5 core dimensions which lead to high employee performance and satisfaction. The core dimensions identified are skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback. These dimensions also helped in motivating and in designing the jobs. Relevance to management and organizational behavior. Positive advantages of OB theories. 1. It provides a setting in which to view the field of management and to consider the contribution of individual writers. 2. It traces the major lines of argument developed by writers seeking to advise practicing managers on how they might improve performance. 3. It provides a framework in which the principles enunciated can be set and against which comparisons with management practice can be made. 4. It helps in organizational analysis and in the identification of problem areas. 5. It enables the manager to take from the different approaches those ideas which best suit the particular requirements of the job. For example, in dealing with the problem of structure, the ideas of the classical writers or of contingency theory might be adopted. When there is a problem relating to human resource management, ideas from the human relations movement might be of most value. If the problem is of environmental influence, insights from the systems approach might prove most helpful. For problems of a more quantitative nature, ideas from the decision-making approach or from management science might be applicable. Points of caution. 1. The various approaches represent a progression of ideas, each building on from the other and adding to it. Together, they provide a pattern of complementary studies into the development of management thinking. 2. The different approaches are not in competition with each other, and no one approach should be viewed as if it were the only approach, replacing or superseding earlier contributions. Many ideas of earlier writers are still of relevance today and of continuing importance in modern management practice. 3. Any categorization of individual writers into specific approaches is inevitably somewhat arbitrary, and not all writers can be neatly arranged in this manner. This is only to be expected. 4. Even when there is agreement on the nature of the contribution from different writers, the actual division into varying approaches may take a number of forms. In other words, while there might be acceptance of the need for a framework, there is no agreement on its shape. Different authors have adopted different formats in which to set out the developments in management thinking. 5. Some of the literature categorizes management thinkers into divisions called schools. The use of this term suggests clarity of distinction between each division and a uniformity of beliefs within each division. This is perhaps an exaggeration. The distinction between these so-called schools is not clear-cut, and there is not necessarily a consistency of thinking among the various contributors in each division. 6. The term approaches to management is more indicative of the obscure lines between the different categorizations, and paradoxically, it is the suggestion of vagueness that arguably makes it a more appropriate term to use. Summary. The unit described the evolvement of this discipline from scientific management, bureaucracy approaches to human relations approach. The various approaches help the organizations to take the right inputs from these and making the employees work better and to make organizations effective and productive.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code Mmpc 011, titled Social Processes and Behavioral Issues. Course coordinator Professor Srilata. Voiceover by Renuka. Edited by Ashok Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.